Hey, welcome everyone to the Critical Music Club number 5, the All-Rockin Roundtable, a chance for musicians, DJs, music writers, and miscellaneous miscreants to meet and talk tunes. My name is DJ Bo. No stops, no caps, no brags, just facts. Shanghai's number 2 DJ. Let's get back on track for our critic list, our ranked top 5 music performances. We're just going to go around very quickly and I'll read you everyone's top 5 and focus. Just talk a little bit about why you're number 1, and if you want to touch on another one or two of them real quick, we can do that. Kevin, let's start with you. Here is your top. Oh no, I'm sorry, you didn't have your top 5 for this one. That's
No,
fine.
I didn't. I wasn't thinking that I would
Yeah.
show up today, so I didn't send something over. But I can, I guess, tell you one of my favorite shows I ever saw was when I saw Jane's Addiction open for the band Love and Rockets, which used to be part of Bauhaus. And this was in Irvine at the Irvine auditorium, which was part of the Irvine College at the time. So it wasn't a big. It was before they were big. This is really um, after the first album that they put out themselves, but then before Nothing Shocking.
Hmm.
And I cannot believe that here they come out on stage, and Perry Farrell is wearing some kind of like bicycle shorts, right? So he's sort of dancing around. And after a couple of songs, you could tell that the bicycle shorts ripped. And he essentially just ripped off his shorts and started dancing around naked for the rest of a couple of songs. And I thought, these guys are like Dionysian, uh, you know, uh, you know,
Awesome.
I just thought, now
Well
this is
played.
how a rock band should perform. I mean, he unleashed a certain free spiritedness that I thought, now that's what I want. I want some of that. Anyway, so that's my story.
Very good. Let's get to the conductor of the Honky Tonk Freeway, Captain Capoeira, Grandmaster Uncle Dave Bojangles. Dave, your number 5 was Nirvana at Reading Festival in Reading. Number 4, the Unknown Mortal Orchestra here in Shanghai. Number 3, the first Rolling Stone Shanghai show featuring Sui Jian. Um, and number 2, The Verve in Detroit. And number 1, Sonic Youth London. This was your
I
category as well. You
I have a
nominated this
question
one. This
about
better be
Nirvana.
good.
Go ahead. What's
My
that?
question about Nirvana was: is that the one where Kurt Cobain came out dressed in a hospital robe?
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair.
Wow,
He came out on a wheelchair, and it was a sort of, oh, what's going on here? Like people were a little bit worried, and then
but it
he
was a joke.
and he suddenly jumped out of it, and
Yeah,
that was the situation. But yeah, Reading Rock Festival. That was a good laugh. It was,
yeah, that was that's on YouTube. I think it's quite an entertaining concert.
all right. Yes. Yeah. Well, that was good. I like a lot of those sort of bands I picked, except for the Rolling Stones and Nirvana, of course, were like bands I'd never heard of before I went to see them. And I think that's good. Like Sonic Youth, for example, they're number 1. I'd never heard of them before I went to see them. And they were supporting the Jesus and Mary chain. And I was a big fan of the Jesus and Mary chain at the time. And they'd just come out. And Sonic Youth, we were sort of taking the piss, thinking it was going to be like Musical Youth, a bit cheesy, but mother of
Musical
God,
Youth was
when
like a
they
pop reggae band, if you guys don't know.
exactly, yeah, it's like a cheesy reggae, man. But no, Sonic Youth were phenomenal. Like, they had all the different guitars for the different tuning and something so powerful and beautiful.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I like that. And so when you hear bands that you've never heard of before, and then they are just utterly fantastic. And
My number 1 is absolutely the same situation as well, where I didn't hear about them, and no, and then I did that.
mm,
Uh, that's it. Good,
yeah,
Dave.
yeah. There you
Cool.
go. Yeah.
Peter, your number 5, Gillian Welsh in Burlington, Vermont. Number 4, Elton John in Montreal. Number 3, Van Morrison in Montreal. Number 2, Bob Dylan in Camden, New Jersey. And number 1, the Levine Helm Band at Levine Helm Studios. Obviously, Levine Helm is from the band. So there you go. Talk to me.
Okay, so my number one was at the Levon Helm Studios. It was actually the year after Levon Helm died, but they were my favorite band at the time. Um, I was totally in love with the band, and that studio, there's like about 300 seats, so I go there and it's very homey. And I remember being very starstruck because their guitar player, whose name is Larry Campbell, I'd also seen him on stage with Bob Dylan and different people, and they were all just kind of standing outside, and it was like kind of like being at someone's house. Um, and also there was a guest at that show, Bill Payne, who's the piano player from the band Widow Feet, another band that I like. And it was like being in Lee Von Helm's house, and he was the drummer and a singer in my favorite band, and there was something like some kind of physical electricity that I just felt being there.
I'm still shocked that it was the Levon Helm Band at Levon Helm Studios, and the first thing you said was Levon Helm wasn't there. But I guess if you passed on that, that's going to happen.
Yeah, they still call themselves the Lee Van Helm Band. I'm not sure if they still do now, but they still have shows there.
Mhm.
And yeah, I did see him live though before he died at a blues festival in Ottawa.
Mhm. Fantastic. Phil, your number 5, which you said you had a story for, was Avicii in Washington, D.C. That's, by the way, why I said I didn't want to do concerts, because if someone wanted to have DJs or whatever, if that doesn't count. So there you go. Number 4, Silver Spun Pickups in Columbia. Number 3, MGMT in Dover. Number 2, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, also in Dover. And number 1, the Bloody Beetroots in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So the reason why Avicii is kind of low on the list is because I don't remember anything. No, actually, I couldn't even I couldn't
Nice.
even make it to 2 a.m. I missed his set. I was there though,
Oh,
for reasons we can probably imagine. And my friends in the U.S. will never let me live that one down. That was 2012, so that was when he just got really big. Yeah, but the others, MGMT. Yeah, I remember the Firefly Music Festival. That's where that particularly one year, 2013, they had the Chili Peppers and MGMT, and I think that was like that festival's coming out year. I'm not sure what the exact term would be, but they had a lot of really good acts, and anyone who hasn't seen the Chili Peppers live should probably try, because Frusciante's back in the band, and so anytime now, they're still really outstanding. MGMT, I just remember everything was like a fog. There was just haze everywhere. And then because at the time the song
is that a
Electric Feel was
metaphor?
really well. At the time, it's really hard to tell whether it's literal or metaphorical. Quite literal too, actually. And so the Electric Feel, that song comes on, and it's just like haze everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. All right. And then what was the fourth one?
Silver Spun Pickups.
Uh, yeah, Silver Sun Pickups. They're this
Silver
really
Sun.
interesting. I think they're an LA band. So really cool bass line, really cool punk, kind of post punk. But number one again, yeah, like other people have mentioned, the Bloody Beetroots, which is headed by Sir Bob Cornelius Refo. They wear the black Spider-Man outfit. Anyway, it's the same thing. Someone told me this young woman said, "Do you want to go see them?" I'm like, okay, but it was by far the best concert I've ever seen, and everyone there was just looking around, being like, "Wow, this is the best concert we've ever seen." And so that was at the 930 Club in DC. Really interesting. Actually, when you hear music, you can't even really. It's a world apart. Like their actual live performances, just the musicality, the people jumping around, and of course the person, the Sir Bob character. It's really interesting how they built like this act. So bloody beetroots, pretty impressive. So that comes in number one.
It's interesting stuff. I'm surprised overall. If anyone wants to comment on this, they can. Like that, there's a couple. I think you kind of expect that if there's an artist you're really excited to see, the expectations of it will make it your highest ranked thing. But I know my number one was someone I didn't know. Dave's number one was someone he didn't know. And Phil just said the same thing. I think that's interesting that these surprise acts made it so high. Anyone
Yeah,
have any thoughts on that?
yeah, I agree. Often you're disappointed, right? When you're building up to see this band that you think is going to be amazing, often they don't quite live up to the expectation, and so the other times you're just taken by surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I saw Vader twice in Bangkok, and like once I saw him in a dive bar that was just no stage kind of thing. And but you're saying that like people don't live up to your expectations. The second time I saw Vader in Bangkok, it made me say like I don't never want to see this band live again. Yeah, they're just pillars in the metal community, you know. But the lead singer had such a bad attitude about not wanting to play, and he visibly did not want to play, and he said he didn't want to play before the show began. And they ended their set like 4 or 5 songs early, and then refused to meet any of the fans, and just said "fuck this place" and left. Um,
Eh,
so they were they were a big letdown.
I've had that
But
experiences with bands too. The first time you see them, they're hungry, they're excited to be there, and then maybe they find success, and the second time the energy is just utterly different. You
there
know.
was a lot of people with cell phones doing the whole like gonna take a picture thing right in the front row, and that always sucks.
Yeah.
But like it's just the culture of the place, and I think if they're doing like world tours and stuff, they got to kind of expect that in certain places. And if everybody in the front row is taking pictures and has their cell phones out and stuff, then they can't really judge what it would be like back in Leipzig or whatever to what it would be, in another other side of the world.
Let's stick with you, Austin. Your number five was the Steve Miller Band in Ridgefield.
Yeah, holy shit! Like
Number
that was
four.
fucking awesome.
Number four was Sum 41. Are you sure you don't want to retract that one? Are you sure?
Hell no, hell no.
Okay. Number
And I have
three was
reasons for all of
Nile in
these.
Bangkok. Number two was Exodus in Bangkok. And number one was Anti Flag in Bangkok.
Yeah, okay, I have fucking great regret. Steve Miller Band did a 25-minute long version of Fly Like an Eagle, and about half of that was a harmonica solo, and it was like I just had a fucking pretty heavy weed cookie before I went in there, and it was like I don't know if it was actually 25 minutes long or if it just was like 10 minutes and it seemed like 25 minutes, but it was a killer. There was like a band called Big Head Todd that was opening for them, and another band that was like, God, I even looked up the name of the. I even sent it. I could find the name if I looked up Bo's thing real quick, but the one of the players from the other bands was able to go up and let's see. I have the name of the band right here. It was uh, Super Suckers. There we go.
Yep.
But they were invited to come
Super
up.
Suckers.
They played this ridiculously long. The guy was stuck on the harmonica, and he just did this fucking crazy just jam with them. It was fucking cool. But
Yeah, Super Suckers are awesome.
and I was dressed like a pirate or some shit for that show. I don't fucking know. But let's see, what were the other ones? The number 4. Oh yeah, Sum 41 because that was like I was a kid. I was like 16 or some shit. And it was one of the first concerts I'd been to that I thought was punk rock at the time, and it was just pop punk, but whatever. And I had met one of the guys at a snowboard show, and they gave me a VHS, and I watched the VHS of them pranking pizza parlors, and
I've seen
and it was cool. And I go to a concert, and they played the song "Makes No Difference." And they did the same thing on the stage they did on the VHS, and I just thought it was cool. And I met my buddy and I went there, and he was in a band called The Color in Between, typical kind of high school band. And we met these girls there and hung out, and then let's see, the next three, Nile, because I don't know if you've ever seen the drummer of Nile play. His name is George Colas, but he is the most wicked death metal drummer. The guy's a fucking computer. And I got one of his drumsticks from that show because he tossed it out, and I kind of midair caught it, and I midair caught it just as this quite beautiful woman comes up and kind of like smiles and shrugs at me like, "Oh, give me the drumstick, right?" And I'm like, "Fuck you!" Take it and run off, right? But let's see. The next two were number two was Exodus. That was a crazy show because we go to like the big venue where Exodus is supposed to play, called Hollywood Awards in Bangkok, and they did some remodeling and stuff. But Exodus, a fucking thrash metal band, comes in. We eat hot dogs with them, and the venue tells Exodus that they could play a show there, but they can't plug in any instruments, and they have to do like an acoustic set. Like, that makes sense. So they say like, well, fuck that. Like, no, we can't do that. And they don't even have like, they were told they were going to be provided with all their equipment and everything. So they couldn't play the show, and they're like, well, we're just going to hang out and drink with people then. So at that time, one of the people there gets in contact with a bar owner of a bar that I saw a lot of shows there called Rock Pub. And he just calls the guy up, and he's like, "Hey, do you want Exodus to play at your bar tonight?" Like, yeah. So everybody goes over in like taxis and vans and whatever to this other fucking dive bar that is the size of a small. It's not a large place. It has a small stage, and it's like one of those like townhouse kind of, very narrow places of like, like what you would expect from like a townhouse kind of shop size. And they end up playing there. Fucking wicked show. They had to get music equipment from the next door music shop. They played there, and we hung out and everything afterwards. And I know I could tell you another time, but the lead singer turned out to be a bit of a douche. This is a long time ago. It's more than 5 years. He kind of, I don't know the term cock block. I do know the term actually. He did that to me though. So, not too high opinion of the lead singer. But number one was Anti-Flag. And Anti-Flag, I used to listen to them a lot when I was a little kid. Not a little kid, but when I was in high school. And they did a couple of shows there. And their first one, they just did a regular concert. I talked to the people afterward. And the next year, I saw them, and they did. I think their album is called "For Blood and Oil" or something like that. But they did a full cover-to-cover set of that, and then just opened it up to requests afterwards. And they couldn't take any of my requests because all my requests were songs that came off of like second and third albums fucking 20 years ago. And they apologized. The lead singer hit me in the face with his guitar and then kissed me to apologize. But they remembered my name. They which was like pretty cool. And they're really humble people, and they put on a very high energy show. that just it goes absolutely wild. And if you ever get a chance to see Anti-Flag, they put on a great show. They're really humble, great people, and they'll talk to you about what your nacho, what you put on your nachos. They're pretty cool people.
Great. And speaking
So
speaking of
that was my number
nachos,
one.
excellent. Speaking of nachos, Phil, mute yourself when you're eating. I don't want to hear your full fucking deal.
Sorry.
It's okay. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Chachi, your number 5 was a show that I was at. Chuck Berry's 75th birthday party with Little Richard as the opener. I've got a story about that one. Number 4, Kiss's farewell tour with openers Ted Nugent and Skid Row. Number 3, The Stooges at Art Basel in Miami. Number 2 was Ponderosa Stomp with headliners Rocky Erickson, Ronnie Spector, rest in peace, and Mary Weiss in New Orleans. And number 1 was Love and the Zombies in Falls Church. Talk about your number 1.
What do I say?
Chachi's at Falls
Number
Church, Virginia.
Yeah, Falls Church, Virginia.
Awesome.
So we just talk about
Talk about
from
your
1
number
to
1 and
5.
maybe choose another one you want to just touch on.
All right, number 1, I must have been 20 or 21, and I remember I was in community college at the time, and I had class, so I skipped 3 days of class straight, and and we were. It was in Falls Church, Virginia, and I grew up in Orlando, Florida, so the only way we could get there was driving, and that's all we could afford, and it was, it's a long trip. It's like how long? It's 16 to 20 hour drive. And we had a timeline, right? We had to get back in time for class or work or whatever we were doing. So me and my guitar player at the time, we just bought 3 ounces of weed and just went, and we didn't stop at all. We just smoked and smoked and smoked and drove. I don't think I've ever driven or traveled for that duration straight ever in my life, except that one time. I mean, by the time we got there, we were just so delirious with, no sleep and just shitty weed, and just we finally got there. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. I mean, they had an orchestra. They had you could tell it was a small, very old. Who's been to Falls Church? Somebody.
Yeah, I have.
It's not a major city. It's sort of like it seems like a town that, like, Marty McFly would have hung out in, you know what I mean? And like it was just a very intimate, wooden stage. That the guy that I remember, they had a actual liquid light projectionist for the show. I've never seen that before. I've never seen someone actually work in the gels, And it was just like all the hippies you could possibly meet. It was a very smelly voyage.
We both went to Chuck Berry's 75th birthday show,
Yeah.
and we've talked about this, but let's just relay it here. Little Richard was the opener, but it was such a great
Yeah, it was.
contrast because Little Richard had a tight ass band with 2 drummers, and Chuck Berry had his local regional pickup group. But Little Richard, during his set, stood up on the piano and said, "Is there any black people here? Come on up." And he gave them autographs. And I was so fucking jealous because I wanted Little Richard's autograph. Chachi, who was one of the people that went on stage to get Little Richard's autograph?
That wasn't me.
Or was it you? I thought you went up to get his autograph.
No, I went up and danced with Chuck Berry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fucked that up then. You went on stage and danced for Chuck Berry?
Actually, you fucked that up pretty bad. It wasn't black people. Little Richard asked if any fat people were in the audience. He wanted fat women up on stage.
No.
It was fat women.
I think it was
wasn't black
people.
people. It was fat women, and then a legion of fat girls. No joke. Like, I don't know, 30,
That's
40
racist.
middle-aged fat women came up on stage and started shaking their shit. You know what I mean? A lot of them. It was really cool.
I gotta wonder which story is more credible by how many drugs each one of you were on.
I was on
It's
I was
crazy.
in high school.
I felt, to be honest with you, I felt bad for Little Richard on that gig because it was Chuck Berry's birthday, right? And Little Richard was doing a set, and I don't know if you guys had seen Little Richard. I know you have, BO, but he wasn't really a healthy guy. And so there were times during the stage where he was like really sweating profusely, and he's just got makeup caked on him. And I remember during the middle of one of his sets, he wasn't playing the piano, he was just singing, but he had to rush to his piano and he covered his mouth as if he was like preventing himself from puking. Or it was really weird. It stopped the
I thought he
whole.
put on a great show.
How long ago was this?
That was, I mean, they were both
20
alive,
years.
so that was
It's like
that
20
was a
years.
long time ago.
I was
20 years
17.
ago. Yeah. They put on a good show. It was great. Chuck Berry was awesome. He was actually kind of lucid and everything was
Yeah.
there.
I saw Chuck Berry a few years
Little
after
Richard,
that, and it
he was
wasn't
okay.
nearly as good.
I might be a little
I
bit
mean, what
biased
he
because of
was.
the kind of I don't know the kind of shows I like. But what's wrong with just puking in front of everybody?
No,
Anyway,
it's
um,
the thing is, it's Little Richard, right? And he's
Yeah.
very
I
No,
thought
he's very
you had a
he's very
very tight
clean, right?
band. I thought it was
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. The
Um,
gentleman.
He's a gentleman. He's a motherfucking gentleman. Radio number 5, Death Cab for Cutie at Red Rocks, which is important. Number 4, The Decemberists in Colorado Springs. Number 3, Tool in San Antonio. Number 2, Gwar, Job for a Cowboy
Oh,
at the Sounds of the
oh.
Underground Fest in Corpus Christi, Texas. And number 1, a solo Dave Matthews gig at Radio City Music Hall, which was a recording for a DVD.
Yeah, I picked these just because for me, whenever I go see a live show, it's the music is important, but also I really am kind of like I like the visual aspect of it too. Like watching Tool or something, they don't just play exactly what's on the album. They can kind of like play music and then have that visual aspect, and it kind of comes together in a really, really cool way. Um, for me, my number one pick was actually a DVD that I watched when I was a teenager, just because at that time I was having a lot of problems at home, and my parents started forbidding me from listening to like really heavy metal music because at the time I was into like Slayer and Lamb of God and things like that, and so I was suddenly forbidden to kind of like get into the heavy music. And I was playing music at the time. I was just starting to play guitar, and I felt kind of like in a weird place where I didn't really know what direction I was going to go into for like playing music. I was learning like flamenco and in school, uh, and I wanted to play metal, but I really couldn't. And my parents forced me to be in like the Christian rock band, so I was playing a church band, and I hated that music, And I found that DVD. I actually saw a couple of the recordings on HBO, and then I bought the DVD. But it really gave me like a direction of like where I wanted to be, and just seeing like the people going crazy for this guy playing an acoustic guitar, singing his original songs, and that just really inspired me to play that kind of music and to try to do that music that was original and in its own kind of style. Um, for my second pick on was the Sounds of the Underground, where I saw Gwar. That was kind of like my first festival tour, and there were so many bands at this place. It was like Amon Amarth, Gwar, Shadows Fall, Job for a Cowboy, Darkest Hour, just a whole bunch of crazy bands. But specifically Gwar, when I had never seen anything like what they did on stage, and I still have yet to see anything similar to them having like a dinosaur and cutting off the heads of things and spraying guts and blood at the audience. It's just like it was so crazy to me, and that just blew my little like 14-year-old mind. So that was one of the best live shows that I've actually been to and actually saw. So I really love that show. The others, it's kind of similar. Like I really like the kind of like the opera style, props on stage, weird things, visually appealing, as well as like the music, being really, really good. So the other picks were just kind of because visually it was really an incredible show that surpassed just like listening to what it was on the album. Even Gwar, is fine, it's good, but to see it is just amazing. To see that live show was just blew my mind. So, yep, those are my picks.
Fantastic. And I think that brings up a good idea of the C's church service, and you can do your Christian rock set. We can decorate C's in white and we can sing that old time religion. I think that's a great idea. Right, I'm going to get on organizing that. Julia, your number 5 was Rammstein. And Cleveland, number 4, Mindless Self-Indulgence in Buffalo. Number 3, Die Antwoord in Toronto. Number 2, Hollow Wicked featuring the Insane Clown Posse in Buffalo, New
No.
York. And number 1, Die in Gray in New York City.
Purposely mispronouncing all of that.
How do you mispronounce Insane Clown Posey?
Oh my god. Okay.
Jose.
So, Darren Gray in New York City. This was awesome. I probably should have like put in quotes that it was their first ever show in the United States.
Well, who is that group? Can you tell people who that group is?
It is I feel like people know, but it's a Japanese metal band. Widely
Someone's
known.
got some music in the background. If you can check on that, please, and cut it. Anyway, sorry, Julia. Continue.
Okay, so yeah, it's a Japanese metal band. I've been listening to them for like ever, but because of certain situations, I thought I would never be able to see them. I also thought I would never be in Asia. Anyways, they came to the United States, and at this time, I was like, I don't have money. Oh, wait, I'm in community college. I just got like leftover loans. I'm using all of this. They announced it on the site, and I was super excited. I sat there refreshing, got the fucking tickets, got 2. My friend Kevin didn't know that he was going to go to this show, but I dragged him there. And I was all like, holy shit. And then I found out that it sold out in 15 minutes. Like, all Darren Gray fans were just like, ah! And yeah, went there. Didn't go the easy way because again I was all like, hey, I'm gonna use this money, and Kevin didn't really care, so I was all like, we're going by flight and we're getting a great hotel and fuck everything. Yeah,
Sounds good.
it was amazing. Anyways,
Great.
I ended up with a bruised rib cage and a fucked up back because the audience was so insane. And they were actually going to not go on stage because they were so horrified of the American audience. Because usually in shows in Japan, they have like the barricade, and people respect that. But we were so insanely crazy that we actually ended up breaking the metal barricade and smashing that up against the stage on the first performance, which I'm forgetting who it was. And the club owner came out and was all like, listen, if you guys don't back up and if we don't get a barricade up, they're not going to perform. And I was just like, fuck you guys, get back.
Fantastic.
Hell's Angels.
I think we're listening to some ICP Hello Wicked in the background of your computer, Julia.
No, I don't have any music on.
You guys hear that too? Maybe I'm just going insane, which is quite possible as well.
No, I hear the music. I just don't know where it's coming from.
It's in your voice. It's in your head.
You're gaslighting me, Dave.
You're going crazy, bro.
Roxanne, you have a top 3 list. The Killers in London, number 3. Number 2, speaking of Japanese metal, Baby Metal in London. And number 1, BTS in London.
Yeah.
What was so special about seeing BTS?
They're like one of my favorite bands. I actually saw them twice in London, and they like sing and dance. So also the same, I was at work because the tickets went out at 9 a.m. and I was literally just spent the first 15 minutes trying to get a ticket before they sold out. They sold out really quickly. So
Did you show us one of their dances, Roxanne?
Yeah, I had like both my phone and my work computer and my laptop trying to get tickets, and also messaging my friends like, did you get tickets? Did you get tickets? And then yeah, it was really fun. And also at that time, me and my friends were learning the dance routines to the
Can you show us? Can you please demonstrate one of those, please?
No. So
Where
I
in
really
London?
liked the last song that they did. It was just like amazing.
Yeah.
And
Where
the
in London
routine
was
was
it?
really good. Once was at the O2, and the other one was at Wembley.
Huh.
Very
I know
big.
Wembley.
The act of, you know, reserving tickets and waiting online and stuff, that's completely lost art form. That's something that, you know, we've certainly bridged it since, but I do remember specifically dealing with those sorts of issues and stuff. Um, Interesting stuff. Thank you, Roxanne. Next, Alex. Number 5, Snoop Doggy Dogg. I go by his original name in Indianapolis. And number 5, number 4, Blink-182 and Green Day in Indianapolis. Number 3, Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos in Muncie. And number 2, Ara and the Ferns, if I say that right.
Aaron
And
the Ferns,
making
yeah.
their second appearance, Rammstein in Chicago.
So yeah, real quick, I'll just go. Snoop Dogg is like last on that list because it was like the worst show I've ever seen. He was like, it's interesting because we, me and my two BFFs, we kind of waited up and bought those expensive ass tickets to a place called the Vogue in Indy, and Indy gets like nothing cool ever. You either have to go 4 hours northwest to Chicago and sleep in a van because hotels are expensive, or just drive 2 states south for anything nice. So when we got Snoop Dogg, we got hyped, and motherfucker's like 2 hours late, 2.5 hours late, and when he finally shows, he plays like 2 songs and then like 2.5 songs. The half one was he just played a song he had like 2 or 3 bars on, and then after that he just kind of shambles off stage. And what happened after that, the crowd was really pissed because these tickets were hella expensive, and I think everyone there was mostly broke. So the place refused to refund us, so everyone got pissed and started breaking shit. So yeah. Uh, as for the Aaron the Ferns and Margaret Nuclear So and So's, they were bands at my college I went to. They were fun. Era and the Ferns were like a folk punk band, which was interesting. They did this big ass outdoor show where they try to get a huge crowd so they go play on David Letterman. And then Margot Nuclear So and So's, they were cool. They had a really fun song called Broad Ripple is Burning. If you're ever in Indiana, Broad Ripple is a really fun place. Blink 182, Green Day Save the Day tour was awesome because it's the first concert I got to actually like go to, choose and pay my money to go to when I was in middle school. Uh, so it was a really fun thing. Then Rammstein was awesome because Jesus fucking Christ, you've been to a Rammstein show? It's fire, lots
everywhere.
of fire, just burning
Yes.
fire everywhere. And
I,
then
I imagine Rammstein's like fire and dicks all over the place.
yes, yes.
No,
Fucking Teal comes
how
out.
people
Teal has a
close to the
giant
stage
metal
survive.
angel fire thing.
Just the heat from the stage alone, how the people in front of the stage are alive after the show, beyond me.
I swear to God, my freaking like bangs got singed off.
I
It
remember
was
a lot of those
awesome.
kinds of shows, and then Great White happened, and then they kind of stopped. Even like in club shows and stuff, there used to be a lot more banging and cheap fireworks and fire and shit. And then after the Great White incident, where the club burns, then that stopped. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have similar impressions.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just a lot of fire and like penis cannons.
Oh,
Fun.
and Flake, Flake, the most adorable keyboard artist ever. Motherfucker is like my gay crush. I love him.
Fantastic. Leslie, you with us? You might be. Oh, there he is. Great. Leslie, your number 5 is The Pretenders in Washington, D.C. I know Dave likes them a lot. Number 4, Friend or Foe, Halloween. Too bad Adam's not joining us at the moment. Number 3, featuring Colonel Bus Crash, Captain Ware, Grandmaster Uncle Dave Bojangles on percussion. It's hotter than teppanyaki. Number 2, featuring a very handsome DJ, Dead Elvis in Shanghai. And number 1, Jorma Kaukinen and Barry Mitterhoff in Shanghai. Go for it, Leslie.
Jorma Kaukinen. Jorma is the lead guitar from Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship. But he's also from Hot Tuna. Anyway, we'll get to that. I love to see some of my favorite bands in different countries. So seeing like Gil Scott-Heron and Presidents of the United States, USA, in London was really awesome. But I also lived in DC for a long time, and the 930 Club saw so many great acts like Sun Ra and his Intergalactic Orchestra. One time I actually had to help him get up and down from the piano stool. That was really cool. There's just so many amazing music to be remembered. And the thing I love about these top 5 lists is it gives me a chance to stroll down memory lane and think about some of the awesome shows, which I won't get really into. But just seeing like Carlos Santana with John McLaughlin and Al Di Meola, or
Wow.
I mean, just some in Residents. We talk about somebody was talking about seeing visuals. They like visuals in their show, and the Residents with these big eyeballs popping around.
Ah, that's
It's
great.
just awesome. Remember Bob Log coming down Union Town steps in a blow up raft, bouncing down the stairs at Union Town. So I really like Dead Elvis because he came out at Logo with this Elvis, like Dead Elvis mask on, and he needed to smoke a cigarette. So I had to like hold his cigarette for him and get it in and out of the mouth hole of his mask while he was playing.
I remember that.
And similar like Friend or
Go-Go
Flow.
show. Good stuff.
Mhm.
Dave,
Yeah,
how does it
and
feel to be making the top 5 list?
It doesn't surprise me, really. No, it's good.
I think I first saw Hotter Than Teppanyaki at a big like mansion house party that you guys
Oh
rented
yes,
out.
the villa.
The villa, right?
If-
So the show at Logo is just amazing, just so hot. And then Friend or Foe played there, Halloween time, and they came out dressed as policemen, and that was awesome.
I remember
The
that.
reason why the Pretenders go on the list, not because they're one of my favorite bands, but it was a birthday show. I was 20 years old. A friend of mine got me tickets, and it was in DC, so we went down to Georgetown University and saw them. So that really stuck out. And then Yorma, number 1. I'd seen Hot Tuna, Yorma, and Jack Cassidy like more times than I could practically count in not in Falls Church, but in Arlington, at the place called it's eluding me now, Birchmere, which is a really cool place because when people start talking in the crowd, everybody's like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. So they really respect good music there. But he came to Uniontown back first time 2012, and just having a chance to see like one of my all-time favorite musicians and one of my all-time favorite clubs, not back at home, but here in my new home, was just very meaningful for me, and getting a chance to chat with him after the show. So there we go.
Fantastic. Kat didn't have a chance to make a list, but she just messaged me. You want to mention a great show you've been to, Kat?
Yes. I've heard some great things. I'm happy to hear the Resident mentioned, but I'm going to have to go with Gwar. And this was at the 1992 New Music Seminar in New York City. So I had seen Nirvana with maybe 20 other people the night before, which of course was fucking amazing. But I had this cute boy come up from Washington, D.C. to meet me, and we were looking through all the bands that we could see because there's like 20 different bands playing all over the city at the same time, and you have to choose, and it's really painful.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Have you ever seen Gwar?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "That's where we're going." And yeah, it was absolute chaos. I was covered in blood and guts, and eventually my head appeared on MTV because they got banned a few days after that show. And I was actually really convinced, never having seen Gwar, that they had this huge stack of Marshall speakers, right? And I was, for some reason, right in the front on the right hand of the stage. I always end up there. And these speakers were swaying and swaying, and I was like, I'm going to die. And I tried to move, and there's no way to move. And I was like, this is a really fucked up way to die, but I guess it's a pretty okay way to die. And I was like, yep, I'm really going to die. And then all of the Marshall speakers just fell over, and they were cardboard. But they completely had me. They had me 100% at my moment of death. And I don't think you can really top that.
Yeah, that is cool. I never saw Gwar, but I did. The closest that I saw was the Dave Brockie Experience, which was the original lead singer of Gwar, who passed away,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And it was at a small club show, and it was violent as fuck, and they did a lot of the Gwar stuff, and it was really cool. Thanks, Kat, for that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Here I'll run through my top five very quickly. Gogo Bordello with Micah in Skopje. That was in
Good show, I
Macedonia.
bet.
Gogo Bordello at a small club show where they're name checking the River Sawa and everything. It's a very special experience. Number four, I had to have a punk show, and this is Against Me, right when they had signed, but before they really kind of broke in Gainesville, my first year in college. Against Me is a Gainesville punk band. Number three, KRS-One with his hype man for that tour, Busy B. Starsky. It was a hip hop show. Most hip hop shows, like you had mentioned, kind of suck. Someone mentioned Snoop Dogg and stuff. Did not suck. This was extremely special, and I was a huge fan, and it met my expectations. Number two is one that I've been back to a couple times. I know Dave has been to Preservation Hall Jazz Band at Preservation Hall in New Orleans. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny space, maybe 50 people. You sit on the ground or you stand. They play traditional jazz music. It's kind of a life affirming experience. And number one fits into the category of, well, fuck it, let's see the show. And it ends up being a mind blowing experience. And I was Robert Randolph and the Family Band right before they kind of broke and before they started touring with Eric Clapton and all sorts of craziness. And there's a Sacred Steel show. They played for like 2 hours until the power of the whole small club went out. My buddy Dan, who usually joins these meetings, we disagree about everything, and we're also major music freaks. But we still agree this is our one or two favorite show of all time. Okay, well, that was our critic list for this time. I'm sorry, what was that?
No. I want to comment on Against Me. They're a really, really good band. I was trying to find really quickly the most. What is their most recent? I thought. Oh yeah. They have a really good album out called Transgender Dysmorphia Blues.
Dysmorphia Blues, yeah. This
Highly
is before
recommended
the I've seen them pre and post that, but
I think that's after. But Transgender Dysmorphia Blues, very good album. That came out in 2014.
And Axl Rose is great, and they especially, but it was especially because this was a local band that was breaking, and it was just insane show at a tiny club called Common Grounds, which you know Chachi is familiar with. Okay, we're running a little bit over, but it's also lockdown time, so.
What about Chachi? Chachi, you didn't tell us about the time you saw Iron Maiden.
You probably remember more of that than I do.
Yeah, what a night.
I remember the broken shoulder I got.
Yeah. That was funny. Just climbing onto the stage, wasn't it?
Oh my God.
Okay, we're running a little over, so I apologize. What's that?
I'm just wondering, after Kat had mentioned the concert where she was covered in blood, it kind of brought up another top five for me, which was seeing Triple Nipple at Yuyintong. I'm just wondering how many other people were at that show, because that was a mind-blowing show. Triple Nipple?
I wasn't at that.
Oh gosh.
No.
You guys missed it. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
You were there?
Fun band name though.
It is a fun band. Thank you very much for joining Critical Music Club number 5. Peace.